KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com. KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com. You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, good evening, folks. It's Thursday, August 25th, 2016. Want to give a quick shout-out and happy birthday to my stepmom, or as I call her, Mom, because we don't use step in our family. Not going to tell you how old she is, but happy birthday. Hope you're having a great night. And quick flashback, happy birthday to my middle son, who just turned 20 on the 23rd. God, I'm old. And an early happy anniversary to the wife. Our 13th wedding anniversary is tomorrow. So, yeah, all kinds of things going on in the month of August. I'm always so busy.
You definitely are.
All right, so, of course, this is the Jenn and Rick Show. We're on every Tuesday and Thursday right here on klnrradio.com. We took Tuesday night off due to the son's birthday, but we're back with you on Thursday. And at this point, I think I've already talked enough, so I'm going to let Jen talk for a minute.
Well, I don't really have near as much going on and celebrating as you do, but it finally stopped raining, so we're not confined to the house and getting all the cabin fever like we were. So it's been a pretty good week, other than the craziness of the news cycle, which is this entire election, of course.
It's never going to stop. Did you have any neighbors camping out on the roof waiting for Noah?
No, I didn't, but we were getting pretty saturated here, so I'm glad we're having a break. Now it's about to start again for another week, but we complained about our 6-year drought, and now we're getting, it all
6 years worth of rain in 6 weeks.
Huh?
Complained about your 6-year drought, now you're getting 6 years worth of rain in 6 weeks.
Pretty much. It's typically how it kind of goes here, so.
It's the same here. We go like 3, 4, 5, 6 years, barely have any rain other than here and there, and everybody starts complaining about how low the water is, and then we have like June and July where we're underwater. Is usually what winds up happening.
Yep. So, but yeah.
So before we actually launch into the news cycle, college football's about to start.
It is. I'm so excited.
Except for like 1 week when we're going to be like a show divided and not talking to each other.
We are going to be. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm used to it. Like I've for all the listeners, my family is half Texas, half OU. So it's like my favorite weekend of the year. It's like Christmas to me. And I love college football, and I love the atmosphere around that rivalry. And it's just going to be a lot of fun.
Speaking of a lot of fun, don't forget the bet.
I know. We do have a bet.
So for those of you who may not know, because this was something that we came up with before we started doing a show together, but we hang out in a lot of different groups on Twitter, had been talking for a while, and I figured out that she was a Texas fan and I'm an OU fan. So we made a gentlemanly wager, shall we say. Basically, so what's going to wind up happening, because there's no money involved, but what did we decide? Was it a week? I think was it a week or was it 2 weeks? I don't remember.
I don't either. We can do whatever. You know what? Let's see how the seasons start, and then we can up the ante if we want to.
All right, so let's start it with a week, and then we'll see how the season starts, and we can figure out which one of us is brave enough to either raise the bet or take the new bet. So anyway, we'd come up with this idea because we go in and out of groups and talk to each other all the time. So the bet between the two of us is whichever one of our teams wins the game between each other, we have to use the other team's greeting every time we go in and start talking in one of the groups that we're in. I'm really looking forward to Jen having to type Boomer Sooner a lot.
Hey, you know what? Last year there was just not a chance, that we were even gonna hang with OU, and what happened? That's why I love this game, though, because, you can have all the stats on your side. You can have all the previous games, dominate all the previous games. You can really be so confident, but it's such an incredible rivalry that I've gone to it for 2 decades. So we always go to the Cotton Bowl. We're there. The energy, and it can just turn in a second. It just really can. The craziest things happen in that game. And so, you have to throw out what looks good on paper and what, logically should happen, because that's just not always the case. And last year was one of those, times that's indicative of that. So it'll be fun. It's going to be fun.
It will be, unless I lose, then I'm going to be cranky, but it'll be all right. All right, but anyway, so I guess enough about college football since it hasn't technically started yet, but I was delaying the inevitable of talking about Dumpster Fire 2016. I don't understand how we got where we are. I know I say that a lot, but each time I say it, it's for brand new reasons. We've just watched Hillary and Trump basically trade places. Hillary is now frantically trying to grab the attention of disaffected Republican voters, and Trump is Trump. I don't know. I'll let you talk more about the Hillary thing, because I could tell you were kind of getting fired up about it when we were chatting back and forth about it before the show. So why don't you take that part of it, and I'll kind of go on from there.
Okay. So anybody that didn't get to see today, she gave a speech, and it was for Republicans. It was for disaffected Republicans. Absolutely. This was not a speech that was for Democrats. I guess it could give them a little bit of a rah-rah. Yeah, she called Trump a racist and he's a bigot. And so they could get, I guess a little bit pumped. But she was definitely speaking to conservatives and to Republicans. And I thought, it was interesting because she was calling out the alt-right. She was calling out Trump and his team for even entertaining them in the least. And she spelled out a lot of very specific examples. She wasn't vague about what she was saying. She talked about the retweeting of the white supremacists, the not disavowing David Duke, all of that. There were some things that were said that I was like, okay, I roll, like saying like, oh, he shares values with David Duke, so that's why he doesn't mind his support. And I'm like, I think that's taking it a step too far, but that's what you expect from a liberal, a leftist candidate. She also brought up him pushing the Barack Obama birther, being a truther on the birth thing, and I thought that was interesting because who actually started that? I
was going to say, who actually started that again?
So, okay, yeah, I'm not buying that one. But she defended Ted Cruz. She applauded and even, she praised former Republican leaders, namely Bob Dole, George W. Bush, and John McCain, for the ways in which that they've handled basically the way they've handled racists, the way they've handled people that want to support them and wanted them to embrace their bigotry. And she praised the way that they handled it and the way that they, like Bob Dole told racists 20 years ago to get the hell out of the party. And So she talked about that. And then she had this particular moment where she says, this is not conservatism as we have known it. This is not republicanism as we have known it. And I thought that was so interesting that she, of all people, came out and defined this as not actually linked with true conservatism. Though the media will do it. The media will make that leap and they will try to tie this all up in a nice little bow. I thought it was interesting that she, of all people, not even our own Ted Cruz, is out there saying this is not conservatism. He needs to, reject them. And this is not how we do things. And we do not have this happen with one of our major parties. She's the one defending conservatism. She's the one saying this is not the conservatism I know or and this is not the way that they operate. So she really talked about him embracing the alt-right. Yeah. No, it was quite astounding. And really, it was, if her intent was to reach disaffected Republicans that maybe aren't crazy politically savvy, I think she did it. I think she did. Or Republicans that are more moderate and just are kind of in general, not super, they're not politicos at all. So I think that this was effective. I think that she really nailed it down. This is the thing that we have been screaming to no avail. We have been saying that he needs to distinctly separate himself from the alt-right, from the far, from the white nationalists, from all of that. Our leaders have not spelled it out like she did. Paul Ryan has not spelled it out like she did. Reince for sure has not, because he's been, having to support Donald. Trump himself has not said, and he's made comments here or there. So let's be fair. He has gone, I don't have anything to do with that, or blah, blah. But it's always in passing. And then yet he retweets another one, or he makes some other kind of comment or something that is over the top and can link it all right back together. So they've always painted the right as racist. So a lot of people today were saying, what's the difference? Who cares? They're always going to paint us as racist. It's what they always do. The media does it. The Democrats do it. This is different. This goes beyond that. And I think that there's actually truth to it now, because these, the alt-right and all these nationalists and various factions of the alt-right feel empowered. They feel emboldened. And so, there's a truth to it now, and the entire movement is being shackled to it by his basically carelessness with social media and his speech, and the way that he dances around the issue in order to get votes is what it seems like. Is he doesn't want to outright put them off because he knows that he can keep them in his camp, and that's not worth it typically to liberty-loving, limited government, freedom-loving, limited government conservatives that have any sense of a moral compass. That's no way worth it. So I don't think it's about the wall or the immigration policy. I think it's his language. Mexicans are rapists, drug dealers, violent criminals, my African Americans, the blacks are all poor. The Muslim ban and suspension of due process, and even if they're an American citizen, let's get rid of all the Muslims. These are all things that she is hitting on and hitting well. And it's the same things, unfortunately, in agreement with her, that many of us, in the conservative movement have been saying for months and months and months. And she stood there on national television and drove those points home in a way that nobody in any movement has really been able to, leaders in our movements have been able to do.
Well, to be fair, Paul Ryan got driven to the dentist by his mom and was having his braces out this week, so he couldn't really talk.
Don't get me wrong. Cruz has said some things. Rubio has said some things. Ryan has said some, but this is the speech that should have been made before he was a nominee, and especially since nominee. If, Cruz has already thrown his has kind of already thrown his hat in the fighting ring, he might as well have given this speech himself. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to knock on them necessarily, but we've needed someone to stand up. And unfortunately, and they could have made an even better case than she does because they're part of the movement. And unfortunately, we leave it to Hillary Clinton. This was wide open for her to just smack it out of the park. And that is so infuriating because she is also corrupt and criminal and in no way some sort of, moral fixture as a politician or even as a human being. So it's so annoying to agree with her and be like, oh my gosh, she's doing what someone should have done so long ago in our own party.
It's interesting that this all happened today because before this ever happened, I was having a talk with a coworker at the day job who happens to be a former gunsmith who now basically took a job at the state to make sure that he could keep a steady paycheck. So basically, when we were talking this morning before we had to start doing the daily grind stuff, he was talking about the fact that he was really disaffected at this point, not sure who he was going to vote for, and pretty disgusted that Hillary seemed to be the only semi-Republican left in the race based on the things that she had been saying recently, and that was before the speech that she had made today, where she did have the opportunity to knock it out of the park. And I've seen all of these other pro-Trump pundits trying to spin it and saying that Hillary was calling all white people that are supporting Trump racist, etc. That isn't what she said, folks. But
it wasn't at all.
But the problem is, and I don't like this any more than anybody else does, because she's slime. She's just as slimy as he is. But the difference is he's acting so crazy that she seems normal.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And I think that it is, and we've talked about this before, like I try my best to criticize for the things that are worth criticizing, hit people on the things that are worth hitting them on and that they've earned, and not just do it just to do it and like have any sort of blind belief, like blind faith or blind hate or anything in any politician or any human being. And so I'm not going to be intellectually dishonest and just hit Hillary and say, yeah, she was calling us all racist, just because that's like the defensive gut reaction of someone who's in the Republican Party or in the conservative movements. Because if you listen to what she said very carefully, that is very far from what she was saying. She was saying this has not been tolerated by conservatism or this movement. They have not had a home, and Donald Trump gave them a home. And this is different than every other, formation of the GOP that she's witnessed in her lifetime, and that we're not all like that. And that's why she was saying, and I welcome any of you to my side, I'll fight for you. If you're that disaffected by this rhetoric, by this dangerous and harmful rhetoric. And, like I said, I think some of the things are over the top. I'm not going to criticize Donald Trump for the birther thing when her own camp pushed it. I mean, I think it's stupid, but I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, hit him on that. No, she has a lot of gall doing that. It's very hypocritical. I guess she still thinks it's a secret. And then, just all the stuff with the Clinton Foundation recently and everything. I mean, it's kind of hard to listen to some of the preaching or to some of what she's saying. But I'm not going to hit Trump when it's not worth hitting, and I'm not going to hit her when it's not worth hitting. And that's just the wrong way to interpret this, because it's not what she said. You have to listen to her words. Don't read the Breitbart headlines or even the New York Times headlines. Listen to what she said, find the words. And it was very much separating this faction, this alt-right kind of version and faction of the GOP that has become such a kind of a mainstay for the craziest of the Trump supporters, separating them from the rest of, I guess, the more sane, non-bigoted part of the party.
So back to the Hillary seeming to forget that she was one of the first ones to push the Obama birther thing. It's not that she forgot. It's that she assumed it was on the server that she wiped with a cloth and that nobody else would remember. Saying.
That's funny. That's funny. But I mean, and I think it's also like is so like Trump is so erratic. Like he'll say like, oh, no, I don't like them. I don't want them, blah, 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 blah. But then he'll say something that feeds right into the alt-right. And so it's disingenuous. It's like, do you or don't you? And he's gone back and forth.
Well, it's as disingenuous as the rest of his damn campaign, though. I mean, he's disingenuous about everything. It's not just the alt-right. Look what happened on Hannity, the thing that they recorded that everybody was watching last night. Even I watched it last night just because I figured there'd be great fodder to make fun of, and I wasn't disappointed. I actually did most of my show last night off of the Hannity thing and the dumpster fire that was a Hannity show for 60 minutes, where they had to bring out other people to talk about Trump's policies like Trump wasn't even in the room anymore because he was just doing that badly with the group that was there watching. It was terrible.
Yeah. I actually recorded it because I thought I might be able to stomach it, and I couldn't. I just couldn't. And it really makes me so annoyed that some of these people that I at least had some sort of respect for are they're towing the Trump line and trying to make ration out of, make some sort of rational conclusion out of all of his craziness. And it's just sad. It just stinks, and it's sad.
I think the one that hurts the most, because I can almost understand Giuliani. I mean, fellow New Yorker, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But Governor Perry, too? I mean, come on, dude.
Really? I know.
Really?
I cannot wrap my head around this. I really can't. And, it is funny, though. If you really listen to Perry and you watch him, he is not exactly just praising and throwing all of this support behind Trump. His words are chosen carefully, and they're just, it's just interesting to watch. It makes me think, like, how did Trump get to him? He's promised something, like, what's going on? Because it doesn't really jive with who Perry is in general, the kind of Republican he's been, and the way he's led. And it also doesn't, like, it seems like some of the words he's saying, like almost his like facial expressions, his body doesn't agree with it. Like, it's so kind of weird. And of course, I'm probably noticing this a little bit more than everybody else because not everybody else, but Texans are probably noticing this more than maybe the rest of the country because we have much more of a case study on Perry. We've seen him a whole lot more, been around him a whole lot more. And so it's just, that one's a gut wrencher for me. That really is not making me feel so good, but it's also kind of weird the way he's presenting himself and going about it and how he's careful not to be like hashtag Trump 2016. I don't know. It's just kind of strange. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Actually, believe it or not, we're already at the bottom of the hour, so we should probably take a break real quick, pay some bills. When we come back, we're probably, because, I've talked enough about Trump, we'll probably save him for the last few minutes of the show. I think it'll be a lot more fun to talk about one of his surrogates and mouthpieces, Miss Ann Coulter, when we come back from the break. Woo-hoo! So this is the Jenn and Rick Show. We are live. We'll be back with you here in just a few minutes. Got to pay some bills. Don't go away. Want to give a quick shout out to some folks hanging out in the chat. Good evening, Slick and Ron. How are you? We'll be right back here in just a couple minutes, folks. Don't go away.
Hard as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
Through hell, and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could, 'cause I'm proud to bring my.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live into the bottom half of the show already. My, oh my, where does the time go? All right, so over-under on whether or not Ann Coulter's hiding somewhere with a box of wine and some Xanax.
You just can't make this stuff up.
I mean, dude, you know, you were just commenting on something that Rush said on the air today, and I actually didn't even think about it until you had said that he was kind of having a field day with it. But apparently, Ann Coulter's book comes out, and this is the same time that Trump begins to waffle and unwaffle on immigration, all within 24 hours.
The same day.
Wait, the very same day?
That's what was being reported, that her book officially dropped when he was saying, like, the day he said all this. Was that yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday that it aired. I think that stuff was actually recorded the day before. Last night's episode of Hannity wasn't live.
I can't help it. This has to be on purpose.
You would think, but why?
therefore it doesn't make, well, this is where it gets really tinfoil because it doesn't make any sense for him to, he knows this book has come out. I've seen reports that members of his team have read it because of course she got it approved by Dear Leader. So he knew exactly what was in it and it's nothing but a Trump fluff. So why would, and she says on page 3 that the only thing that he could do that would not be forgivable would be to flip-flop on immigration and to offer amnesty. Like she says that at the very beginning of her book. And what does he do the day that it drops? This is absurd. I mean, this just feeds into that whole, he's just a prop to get Clinton elected. Like, I mean, it's hard not to believe it. You can't make this stuff up if you're writing a book about it.
Yeah, I mean, how does this happen? I mean, look, I don't like Ann Coulter. I haven't for quite some time, but I can't imagine how she must be feeling right now. The very same day that her book In Trump We Trust comes out, where she basically says the only thing that he could do wrong is flip-flop on immigration, and then he flip-flops on immigration. I'm just thinking,
like we all said he would.
Just thinking, how much did you expect to make on this book that you can now use to build the wall that he's not going to?
Oh my gosh. I thought it was so funny. Someone on Twitter redid Jeb's campaign logo, the Jeb with exclamation point that said Don, exclamation point, because he's basically adopted Jeb Bush's immigration policy. Like basically what he said is very similar. Actually, it's super similar to Gang of Eight that he just slaughtered Rubio over. And then, but actually some of the stuff he's then now clarified is much closer to Jeb's and is definitely more moderate than Cruz's. So the main thing that all of these people were so mad about, including someone that I had become really good friends with, and he left in a huff, like left this DM in a huff of, you know, the people that I'm working on this Misfits stuff with, because he just could not accept anything less than the harshest of harsh immigration, the way that Trump had spelled it out. And we were all saying, he's never gonna, it's not possible. It's not happening. He's not deporting, 13 million people in 2 years. He's not going to get this wall. It's very unlikely he'll get this wall built. And if he does, it's not going to be the way he's talking about it. And all of these things. And people are just like, no. And this is the reason why I trust him because blah, 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 blah. And I mean, it's like on cue. Here we go. End of August, going into September, just a few months left. Hillary's starting to pull out the big guns, and Trump shoots himself in the foot.
But let's face it, when does Trump not shoot himself in the foot? It's the same thing that I've been saying time and time again lately. Anytime he has a chance to go after Hillary and actually focus on Hillary, he does something to either shoot himself in the foot, or if the media is targeting her, he runs out, white knights her, and jumps on the grenade. And he's done it time and time again. I really, at this point, think we have gotten played. I don't think he wants to be president. I really don't. Because there is no way. Because I listened to him 5 times last night say the position 5 different ways of whether or not it was actually amnesty. Because, well, no, it's not amnesty because we're going to give them the option to stay if they're not evil and haven't done bad things. We're going to get those out really, really quick. But then we're going to make the ones that are good people that have been here and they haven't really done anything wrong other than break our laws, which is what he says next. And then we're going to make them pay back taxes, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. And I'm like, okay, so you're basically talking amnesty now. The same thing that you were yelling at everyone else and saying if you give them a path to stay, whether it leads to any type of path to citizenship or not, then you're giving them a path to amnesty. Well, now, earlier today, he's come out and said that he's recanting most of what he said about the 11 million people that were not to be deported unless they had committed a crime, and that he's not advocating a path to amnesty, but he's still not come out and said that his plan does not involve letting them stay if they're the good ones. My problem is, who decides if they're the good ones?
Yeah, no, it's hogwash. He absolutely meant what he said. Then he realized all the backlash he was getting, and he probably got a good tongue lashing by people like Coulter and, I'm sure even his new with Bannon, being now at the helm here, that they were like just mortified of what he said. And so he looked to walk it back. But look, this is what he does. I mean, this is who he is. This is what he does. He tries to, well, first of all, he's the most kind of people-pleasing in one way, but still authoritarian as all get out. But what I mean by that is like, what gets him the cheers? What gets him the pats on the back? What gets him the handshakes? And so I think that's part of why he constantly changes things. And it's just, this isn't, if you look at the rest of his stances and how much they have wavered immensely over the last year, this comes as no surprise. But for the people that hedged all their bets on his immigration talk, which is essentially why he won the nomination, it's devastating to them. I mean, Ann Coulter threatened to cancel her book tour. I mean, over his softening immigration stance. So
wait, hang on. Did you say she canceled it, or you?
No, she threatened.
Oh, she threatened to cancel it.
But apparently there's a portion of her tour that did get canceled, so people thought she really did, but it really had more to do with logistics and was already like canceled before this happened. So that got a little bit convoluted. But she did basically say that like, maybe I'll have to reconsider pushing this book.
Well, she's got to push it. She wrote it. I mean, what's she going to do? I mean, there's
effort to go to just be completely wrong. I mean, this is the whole thing. The name is in Trump We Trust. I mean, get out of town. Oh, my gosh. And she had this quote.
Can you imagine, though, in the 80s if somebody had written a book called In Reagan We Trust? People would have come unglued.
Oh. No, I can't imagine. I really can't. I was trying to find, there's somewhere here where she made, oh my gosh, the comment she made was just, and it was like in response to this, because she's now trying to spin it, as so many of his supporters are. Well, no, I mean, this is what we always meant was, but no, this is what you eviscerated other candidates over and said that it was un-American, unpatriotic, not conservative. You just absolutely tore them apart over the even slightest hint of anything short of mass police force deportation. Let's not pretend that's not what happened, but they're all trying to spin it like they didn't really mean it like this.
Oh, I mean, well, no, I mean, but that's the thing. The mental gymnastics it's taken to remain a Trump supporter in the last 24 hours have been amazing. Because I actually, somebody, I didn't recognize the name, but they had said they were going to be on Fox News earlier today talking about Donald Trump's positions on immigration, whatever those might actually be. And I had quipped off and tweeted back a joke about, is it too early for a policy change drinking game? Because, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So somebody quote tweeted me in that because I ended it with, am I right, with some question marks and a couple of emojis. And they're like, no, you're wrong, because if you thought that deporting 11 million people, even as a Trump supporter, was a good idea, then you're crazy. I said, first of all, I never said I thought it was a good idea or a bad idea. He did. He hammered everyone else who had the same position that he just came out and said that he has last night. And now, within several hours, he's walked the majority of that back. So in the span of about 5 hours, I had a conversation with a guy that was like, well, it's smart that Trump said that he's not going to deport all these people. And I tweeted him back a few hours later. So how do you feel now that he's walked most of that back? What's he going to do with those 11 million people now that he's saying that he's not going to offer any type of amnesty? And he never responded. So I'm sure I'm probably blocked by now. I didn't look.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. It's just the way that they have to spin and jump and move and explain all of these things is just enough to drive anybody mad. But
I could still move like that. I wouldn't keep having to go to the paint factory. I'm just saying.
Okay, so this national correspondent for Business Week, his name is Joshua Green. He says, I talked to Coulter last night. She isn't about to jump off the Trump train, but she compared him favorably to Kim Jong-un. And here's the quote. My worship for him is like the people of North Korea worship their dear leader. Blind loyalty. Once he gave that Mexican rapist speech, I'll walk across glass for him. That's basically it. Unlike the crazy Cruz supporters, I'll criticize him, and I have, but it's all minor stylistic stuff. We all want to shoot him at various times. That's her quote. What? Like the people of North Korea worship their dear leader. Also had to throw in Mexican rapists. And then, she wants to shoot him sometimes. But, whatever. And by the way, you Cruz supporters, you're crazy. I'm totally sane. Just read my words. Look at them. They're completely legit and totally of sound mind.
Yeah, they sound legit. I wonder how many boxes of wine and bottles of Xanax she'd gone through before she came up with that gem.
I can't even. And so, for a little backstory here, I am now, I am completely, Coulter is just off her rocker, and she always said things that were provocative to make waves. But, some of her early writing and everything, I mean, she did a lot of research. Things were backed up, and there was some expose type stuff and whatnot that was interesting. And she was actually entertaining. And then she always aimed to be entertaining. She's gone so far beyond that and dove straight off the cliff. But so back when I was in college, I was a part of Young America's Foundation, and I would go to their national student conferences in D.C. and various other, I was invited to various other events and things. And Coulter spoke at several of the things I was at, and I got to meet her and got her to sign a book. And it's like Laura Ingraham, who recently blocked me on Twitter. She's just, there are a couple of those people in the conservative movement that as a girl, growing up and going to college at a very liberal university and being one of the outcasts because I was conservative, kind of helped me, hone my arguments. They were people to kind of look up to, maybe even model after a little bit. The kind of quick-witted, smart, fast, pull in the zinger type thing that they were able to do. And then, Laura on a more serious side, obviously Anne was always pretty bombastic, but it's just so sad to me that these people that this is where we are, that these people have just thrown in for Trump and have gotten in so deep, like people did with Obama, that there's nothing he can do that they have to support. They have to figure out a way to spin it. And so much so that they are now arguing that, populism is the way to go, that like having an authoritarian as a president is, pretty cool. That's totally fine. America needs it. It's so sick to me. It's so sad. And these once kind of strong conservative women are being exposed as being absolutely batty. And that's sad because that's what the left has always portrayed right-wing women as. So I guess kind of confirmed in their case. And that sucks for someone like me.
Sorry, I was actually just reading through something that I noticed that a friend of ours had put out. I guess Ann Coulter's kind of at it again. There's actually an excerpt from one of her new books. In response, Serge disavowed his own reporting when Trump hit back, doing an imitation of Serge as a flailing imbecile for recanting his story. The media replied, "But he's disabled." Trump denied knowing that Serge was disabled and demanded an apology, saying that anyone could see his imitation was of a flustered, frightened reporter, not a disabled person. It's true that Trump was not mimicking any mannerisms that Serge has. He doesn't jerk around or flail his arms. He's not retarded. He sits calmly. But if you look at his wrists, you'll see they are curved in, and that's not the imitation Trump was doing. He was doing a standard retard, waving his arms and sounding stupid. somehow this makes it all better for Miss Ann Coulter. I'm not quite sure how.
What? So he didn't have the physical tics down to a complete a perfect imitation, so it's invalid?
Pretty much.
I'm so angry. I'm going to need a lot of wine. I hate these people. I just hate it. This is so absurd. And I'm sorry, but Hillary Clinton was exactly right. This is not the Republican Party that we know. This is not conservatism as we know it. And it has been completely hijacked. And Trump has allowed it. His supporters have encouraged it if they haven't gone that way themselves. And I know there are those that are not, of course. But they have absolutely enabled this insane rhetoric to be a part of it for things like this to get such a hall pass. Are you kidding me? If Cruz ever mocked, I would even argue that there are a lot of popular Democratic politicians that could not get away with mocking a supporter like this and not be completely shunned from anything that the Democrats ever did again. I mean, I think they would die into obscurity for doing something like that. It's just absolutely preposterous, and it's so disgusting that this is where we are. I'm getting very mad and ranty.
And
Good thing it's almost over.
Sadly, the wine she's sipping on probably isn't going to help that much. All right, but I mean, how does even, I mean, you just put that in a book that you're hoping to sell to millions of people, and you just made yourself sound even more stupid than I even thought possible. And you just reinforced the fact that not only do I not want to buy the book, the only reason that if anybody ever gave me the book, the only thing I would use it for is to start a fire. I just,
and I think though, I think this is just how sold she was. I mean, and a lot of his supporters, I think when she said that blind loyalty was so right, like they just got completely eat up with a few things that he said or did. And they just got so blinded by his non-PC way and all of that, that they got completely snookered. And she wrote this book thinking there's no way on God's green earth that this becomes invalid or that I would turn on him. And there's the con. There you go.
I mean, it's becoming more and more patently obvious that the American people have been played. And the scary thing is,
we got trolled so hard.
Yeah, I didn't want to use the word trolled, but it does fit. I mean, we literally have seen the trolling of the American people by both parties. So,
and like you said earlier, just to kind of like bring it all full circle, is it's sad, and it's unimaginable that Clinton is so incredibly disliked, and she is not even popular with her own party, and she hasn't been for a very long time, and she comes out of this looking rational. She comes out of this looking like the calm, logical, very, well-tempered leader. She looks stately. She sounds like she's, got her crap together. And that is so infuriating to me. These Clintons are just corrupt criminals, and they do anything. I mean, I have no doubt that they would have offered their firstborn to be able to rule this country. And in fact, I think they had a firstborn so that they could make themselves more appealing to be able to rule this country. And that we're this far that I
still don't think she's Bill's daughter.
But that she's more palatable to especially the independents and the moderates than Trump could ever be is just... I'm just still at a loss for words about it. It's crazy.
All right, so I had to take a swig of my beer before I'm about to say this next thing because it's really, really painful to say, but it doesn't make it less true. Trump, as of today, has actually made Hillary Clinton sound presidential. I need another drink.
We all do.
And the scary thing is, we've been telling people this for months. I think this is all happening by design. I think this was the plan all along. There are too many little pieces that all fit together, and I don't believe in coincidence. I never have. The word coincidence is just a way of making up excuses for things that we don't understand yet. The thing is, if you look back now, if you look back at the phone call between Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, there was something there that has always made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Why would the man who is about to announce that he's going to run against you, because at that point everybody knew Hillary was going to be the nominee on the Democratic side. There's no way that Doc Brown was going to make the nomination. It just wasn't going to happen. Sorry, for those of you who don't know, I call Bernie Sanders Doc Brown. From Back to the Future, by the way, in case I needed to clarify. There's too many things that make sense now looking back that didn't necessarily make sense at the time. And the fact that he continues to come to her rescue every single time the press starts talking bad about her, and then hems and haws about how they're always talking bad about him because he's the one that's white knighting her. I'm telling you, this was the plan all along. I just don't think they expected him to be here where he is right now, which is why he keeps trying to shoot himself in the foot. He walked back the one thing that his supporters wanted most of all yesterday, and they were still shouting Trump, 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 Trump. He's done everything he can to kill his own campaign, and it will not die. He's the one sitting there pointing a flamethrower at it, pulling the trigger, and it won't die. Because the American people have just become that blind. And it's a sad day for America all the way around.
Well, we can look forward to, Clinton's presidency being covered on Trump News Network now. So,
I'm glad you brought that up, because does anybody else find it interesting that within the same couple of weeks that Donald Trump makes an announcement that was made by third party that he's planning on starting a news network, he all of a sudden Breitbart's lead guy becomes a part of the Trump campaign? Speaking of, I don't believe in coincidences, not to mention the fact that Roger Ailes came in just before he did.
Yeah, she had a sick burn about, and I say sick burn, I mean, lots of us have made it on Twitter, but from a politician of the opposing party, it was kind of funny. She was basically like, oh, I hire the best people, except for, I'm talking about Clinton when I say she, obviously. I hire the best people, but he has gone through, more campaign managers in the last few months that it seems like an episode of The Apprentice, like about firing more people. That it seems like an episode of The Apprentice. And I was like, oh, gosh, we've all made that joke, but look at you putting that out there. I wish somebody else would, sticking up for us and our principles, but oh well.
That really should have been his campaign slogan. Trump Pence 2016, you're fired.
Yeah, it should. Well, yeah, absolutely. Like, Democrats, you're fired. That would have actually been, if he was actually a legit candidate, that would have been excellent.
But instead,
alas, he is not viable.
Never has been viable, never will be. All right, so believe it or not, we're already out of time. Why don't you remind folks where it is that they can interact with you should they choose to do so?
All right, well, come find me on Twitter at jhomestead. I'm always trying to stir stuff up. At JR Homestead on Facebook and misfitpolitics.weebly.com.
All right, and you can follow along with me on Twitter, or you can like my professional Facebook, or give a friend request over at my professional Facebook page. The Twitter handle is AOTR_host. Facebook is Rowdy Ricky Robinson. Just pop it in the search; it'll pop right up. Send me a friend's request. We'll talk. We'll chat. We'll hang out. It'll be great. All right, and you can also hear me weeknights here right on KLNR, right here on KLNRradio.com on America Off the Rails. Speaking of which, that is coming up next, but tonight it will be a replay. It has been a very long week, and I have to go back to the Pain Factory tomorrow. And since I have a football game to cram in tomorrow, plus a show where Dan and I are going to call out some Trumpkins and see if they have anything to say about his recent flip-flop, then unflip-flop, I figured tonight would be a good night to take a break. So there will be a replay up next, and then the Rhino Report at 12 Eastern. So stay tuned if you're so inclined. It's been our pleasure to have you with us tonight. Want to give a quick shout-out to everybody that came into the chat. Had a pretty full group there for a little bit. We had... of course, myself and Jen were in there, and we had Trigger, we had Ron, and we also had Jess, the host of just POV was hanging out in there for a while. But at this point, folks, we are out of time. We'll be back with you again next Tuesday, and I'll be back with you live tomorrow night. Take care. God bless. Stay safe.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.